Hey, what's up everybody? Welcome back to Unparalleled Universe for another action figure review, and today we're taking a very quick look at the brand new Marvel Legends Punisher War Machine. And I think this figure is a GameStop exclusive, but I'm not 100% sure because this thing popped up this week. It was a big surprise. Nobody knew it was coming. I know that there was some rumors about a Punisher War Machine coming out, but it hadn't been revealed by Hasbro and there just wasn't that much information. All we know is earlier this week, a guy by the name of Cincy found him at his local GameStop, and then he posted pictures and a bunch of people accused him of making like a custom war machine, calling it fake, this and that, whatever. Turned out it was real, and here it is. And shout out to Cincy because that dude is awesome. He has a great YouTube channel where he, has hauls and shows off action figures and all kinds of cool stuff. Lots of good energy, so go check him out. I'll leave a link in the description below. But let's get into this. So starting with the packaging. The packaging is very nice on this figure, even though it is the standard Marvel Legends packaging. I like down here how it says War Machine and then it has Punisher kind of like painted over it. It kind of looks like vandalized or something. That's kind of cool. Reminds me of the Joker or something. But yeah, other than that, you could see the figure up here, and then there's some really nice artwork, and I believe this is actual comic book cover artwork, but it looks very cool. And then on the back, we get a shot of the figure and then a brief description as to why Frank Castle is in the War Machine armor. But yeah, that's it for the packaging. It is collector friendly, all that good stuff. But let's open it up and take a look. So here's Mr. Castle out of the box. And this is a good looking figure. But for those of you that don't know, it's basically just a repaint of the Marvel Legends Civil War 2-pack War Machine. And I think that's okay. I think this body works really good for War Machine. I liked it on the last figure. I like it this time around. But the one thing I do wish was different was I wish they gave him a different head, because this head doesn't feel comic book enough for me. It feels very movie-like, and I like the head sculpt for the movie War Machine and Iron Man figures and stuff like that. I like the design, but for this, I do wish it was more comic book looking. I think that would have went a long way and it would have benefited the figure a lot. And speaking of the head area, a lot of people are complaining because he doesn't have the skull painted on the faceplate here, but I wasn't able to find any comic book panels where it had the skull actually painted on the faceplate. On a lot of the merchandise, like the Hasbro Marvel Legends skull or the Hot Toys Frank War Machine figure they have coming out, all of those have the skull painted on the front of the helmet, but I didn't see that in the comic book. I haven't read the comic, so maybe it's in there somewhere, or maybe it's on some variant cover, but for the most part it seems like the faceplate is just usually white, so maybe they could have painted this white and it would have been a little bit more accurate. So for the most part, I think that people complaining about the skull not being on the faceplate is a little invalid. I will admit it would have looked a lot better, and I think it would have added a lot to this figure if it came with an alternate head that had that face paint style. I think that would have been super dope because it looks cool. It's an awesome design and everything, but it just seems like he didn't really use that in the comics, but it would have been cool if they included that. But anyways, let's get into it here. So I do like the way the figure looks. I love the skull here on the chest. It definitely looks like Frank just kind of threw some paint on there. It's not like the cleanest paint job, but it looks incredible. And then I really like the little skulls right here. And I'm sure it's like a kill count or something like that. That's really cool. Down here he has the same thing going on. It looks really nice. And yeah, like I said, this body it does have a really good sculpt. There's a lot of really good details on there. I think it works really good for War Machine. Some of the stuff looks a little plastic and cheap, like these things on the arm. I'm not a big fan of these at all. And then one thing I straight up dislike about this body is these stupid things on the hips, because they fall off really easy. So, that kind of sucks, but I am going to glue them on. But aside from that, they just look kind of cheap and weak, I don't know what the deal is. And the other thing you could do with these little pieces is plug them into his arm. And I guess that's okay, but still, I just don't like the way this looks right here. I just wish it was just like sculpted regular right here. But what I'm going to do is glue these down and call it a day. And once they're in there and glued down, it doesn't look as bad. But yeah, the rest of the figure has incredible details. Check out all the armor sculpting work here on the back. Everything looks cool. We got some more weathering and wear right here. Same thing in the front. And yeah, overall the figure looks really good. I think they did a good job with it. He should have come with a couple alternate heads just to make it feel like less of a cheap repaint. I think if it would have came with an unmasked Frank Castle head and a head with that skull faceplate on it, I think that would have been super dope, and a lot of people would have liked this figure a lot more. But I mean, as is, it seems like it's pretty popular, people going crazy about it. But yeah, let's check out the accessories here. So the accessories are really weak on this figure. He does come with this little shoulder mounted gun, and I'm not a big fan of this because it falls out really easy. And not only that, it just doesn't even look that cool, you know? It looks like a weird laser gun or something. And, you know, when we're talking about the Punisher, he needs to have like a minigun up here or something crazy so he could shoot bullets, not like this weird blue thing shooting out of here. And then he has this like airport security thing, which made sense for the original release, but it doesn't here. They could have left this out. And then to make it even worse, they gave it like a compacted version. You got all this stuff in here which doesn't feel like Frank Castle at all. So I really could have done without these things, and they could have just included more guns, put a couple holes in the figure so you could stick the guns on him and called it a day, you know? So I don't know, some aspects of this figure do feel kind of lazy, but I think for the most part it's a pretty cool figure, and it captures the look close enough in my opinion. But yeah, I feel like they definitely could have done some more. Aside from those accessories, we do have this thing here that I guess you could put in here, but it falls out really easy unless you stick it in there all crazy. But you know, it's like almost not even worth it, because why do you want this weird like post on his back? We want guns on War Machine, man. They should have given us some more guns. And then he does have some interchangeable hands, so you could give him some fists, so that's cool, huh? I mean, I'm happy about that. But yeah, he really should have included an alternate head. Let's take a look at some alternate heads here. So I do have the Marvel Legends Walgreens exclusive Punisher. I do not have that new GameStop one, only because I don't know, man, I can't get behind that one. It just seems too much of like a kit bash. It just looks like a random mix of parts. But I do think that this head is exactly the same aside from the paint job. I'm not really sure if the peg hole is the same size, but I'd imagine it is. But either way, let's take a look at this one here. So you can't really peg it on there. It just kind of sits on the top. It's a big, huge hole in the head, a small little ball joint, but, you know, it looks really cool. Check that out. I like that a lot, but it just kind of wobbles around. And as for another idea that I've seen a lot of people do is they've been taking the Tactical Suit Punisher masked head and putting it on this body. And I think that looks awesome. It's a little big, but it makes sense because it's a dude with like a helmet on, so it makes sense that it would be a little bit bigger. But that looks awesome, man. That works really good. So let's take a look at that far back there. That's really good. So I do like that. And another cool thing you could do, speaking of the Tactical Suit Punisher, is take his minigun and have War Machine hold it. Yeah, and there we go. Check that out. That is awesome. See, Hasbro could have just given him some small accessories and it would have went a long way, man. Look at how cool would it have been if it came out like that. I know it's not 100% comic book accurate, but it looks incredible. And then just for fun, here he is rocking one of the Unparalleled Universe mascot head sculpts. And the story behind this thing was I was painting these. This one didn't come out the way that I wanted it to, so I gave it a Caesar from Dawn of Planet of the Apes kind of makeover. And, you know, I think that looks awesome. I might buy another War Machine just to do this. This is super, super cool. But anyways, yeah, just a fun little thing here I have going on. But yeah, I like this a lot. One more quick little head swap. Here he is with the head from the 2-pack War Machine with the red eyes. And I actually think that looks a lot better. I'll probably keep him like that, actually. I think that looks really good. It looks better than the blue eyes. And for a couple of quick size comparisons, we have the Punisher War Machine alongside the Civil War War Machine and the Endgame War Machine. And I think it would have been kind of cool if they went with the Endgame War Machine for this figure, even though it would have been even more inaccurate. I think it would have made for a pretty cool figure just because of the size of that Endgame War Machine. I really like that figure, so I think it would have been interesting to see the Punisher armor on that body. And then here we have him alongside the Mezco 112 Collective Tactical Suit Punisher and the Marvel Legends Walgreens exclusive Punisher. And then here we have him alongside the Marvel Legends Bucky Cap and Marvel Legends Pizza Spider-Man. And then now here we have him alongside the Marvel Legends 80th Anniversary Classic Iron Man and the Marvel Legends Invincible Iron Man from the Black Panther movie wave. And as I was grabbing these two figures, I was reminded how badly we need a new classic comic book War Machine. And I'm really surprised Hasbro hasn't given us that already, considering that Iron Man and War Machine are such popular characters. You would think that they would do that because they could make an incredible classic comic War Machine, and proof of that is their Marvel Universe version of that. Or I'm not sure if this was in the actual Marvel Universe line. It might have just been in the Iron Man movie waves. But look at this thing, man. This is a perfect classic War Machine. And I just wish that Hasbro would give us this in 6-inch form. You know, it needs better ankles and a better torso area. But aside from that, this thing is perfect, man. Look at it. And then check this out. It has these guns that you could bring up from the back. They're on a little, I don't know what it's called, but there's like a little channel that it travels in. You could bring it up like that. Same thing here, bring this up. It came with some blast effects, and just look at that thing, man. It's perfect. So I don't know why they're messing around. They need to give us a classic 6-inch War Machine because this thing is incredible. Anyways, back to the review. And the articulation on this figure is a little weak, but I think for the most part it's okay for a War Machine figure, but they definitely could have done a little bit better with it. But anyways, let's get into it. So his head is on a ball joint, so it can move side to side. There isn't really any tilt to it. It's a little restricted because of these pieces on the armor, but he can look up to right there. He can look down to right there. And then he does have a mid-torso cut, so he is able to lean to the side a little bit, which is nice. And then he could twist, and he can't really crunch forward. But, you know, again, it's a dude in armor, so I'm okay with that. It could go back to right there. So, I mean, it's decent movement in the torso area, but I wish it was a little bit more. And then for the arms, he does have ball-jointed shoulders, but they are hindered by his shoulder armor, so you can't go all the way around. But you can bring them up a little bit, which is cool. They could pretty much go up to right there. The armor piece, the shoulder piece does move out of the way slightly, but for the most part, it kind of stays in the way. Then it could come back to about right there. You could bring his arms all the way out to the side, though, so that's good. And then you have the upper bicep swivel. You have double-jointed elbows. Let's see here how they do. They're okay, but you know, they're a little restricted. And then you have a swivel at the wrist. Oops. We have a swivel at the wrist and then a hinge at the wrist. And then for the legs, it's got these weird hip joints, but they could only go out to right there. They could come forward to about right there. But the armor pieces kind of overlap each other and it's kind of hard to move it forward. Could go back to right there. Then he has the upper thigh swivel, double jointed knees, which are pretty decent. And then for the feet, he can swivel them a little bit. He's got a little bit of a rocker. It's just a ball joint in there, so it's kind of an older style of doing it. But, you know, you get some pretty good movement out of it. Check that out. So it's pretty cool for the feet, you know. Yeah, like I said, not a crazy amount of articulation, but I think it works for War Machine. You could definitely get him into some decent poses. Alright guys, so overall, I'll admit, I know he's not the most exciting figure ever, but I do like it. I like the sculpting work on the figure, I like the paint work, I like the character design, I like the idea of Punisher as War Machine. Even though I haven't read the comic, it seems like a really cool concept, and it works visually, because the skull looks awesome on the War Machine armor. And I do wish that he came with better accessories. I feel like that's where the figure falls short, is the accessories department, because I can't believe they just gave us the same stuff that came with that 2-pack War Machine. That's crazy, because that stuff works for 2-pack War Machine, but it didn't work for Punisher War Machine. So it's crazy they put it in there. They should have definitely just given us some more guns. Even if they gave us like handguns, I mean not handguns, but guns that he could hold in his hands, I think that would have been better than what we got. But I really think they should have at least given us like a big minigun for his shoulder. There's so many things they could have done, because War Machine usually has a crazy amount of weapons that are always exposed and out, and he's always ready. But you know, this figure doesn't necessarily capture that. And even Punisher is like an extreme character that always has a lot of stuff going on. So it's like two extreme characters and they like minimalized it here, you know. So in that aspect, it's a little disappointing, but as a base figure, it's cool, and I'm definitely going to add my own things to it to make it a little bit more exciting. And I think, you know, a lot of people are going to be doing stuff like that, and I'm sure pretty soon here we'll see a bunch of people's different takes on their Punisher War Machine, and it'll be awesome to see everyone's, you know, what they could do, what kind of ideas they could come up with, what kind of weapons they could add to the figure, and all that stuff. So that's fun to look forward to. But aside from that, I feel like Hasbro was pretty lazy with this figure. They definitely could have done better, but it's a pretty decent figure just itself, like a base figure, but they definitely should have put some more effort into it. So anyways, I think that's it. Thank you so much for watching. Please be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and all that good stuff. And before I get out of here, I just want to say a few things. I'm using this diorama for a couple of reviews here. Let me know what you guys think. I used it on this one and on the last one, and I'm not going to use it all the time, but I'm going to bust it out and do reviews inside of this diorama every now and then, because I love this thing, and Chris Lyons did an incredible job with it. I did a video on it. You can check it out. It's on my channel. But yeah, it's a cool diorama, and I think it's a nice change up for reviews. Let me know what you guys think. And also, the Unparalleled Universe Odious head is still available for purchase, so if you're interested in that, I'll leave a link in the description below so you can check that out. It's sculpted by Casting Cave and painted by me, and he did an incredible job on it, and it's just such a fun little project. And shout out to everybody that's already picked one up and sent me pictures on Instagram of them trying it out on different figures and doing different things with it. That's so much fun for me to see. That's awesome stuff. But anyways, that's it. Thank you so much for watching. Peace.